friends, and welcome to my channel. My name is Tammy Ernest and I'm a long arm quilter, and here on my channel I like to share customer finishes as well as my own personal projects. But today we are doing floss tube. This is my first ever floss tube. Thought this would be a good time, just the start of the new year, and just to get it all coordinated and pull it all out and show you guys that I'm also a cross stitcher. A couple people on the comments recently have said, we're waiting. So today's the day. So instead of quilts today, we're doing cross stitch. So a little backstory, I learned to cross stitch as probably a grade schooler. My mother was one that introduced it to me. She wasn't a cross stitcher herself, but wanting to keep us girls busy, we always had crafts going, and so I learned to cross stitch as a girl and continued it on through teenage years, even into our early marriage. I did a lot of, I guess, the dimensions types of kits and things like that, and I can remember early on in our marriage going on a trip, and I can remember working on a piece, and I don't know why I remember that, but working on a piece while we were on vacation. And then as lots of kids came along, I just didn't have the time for that anymore, kind of set it aside, and really about probably 2 or 3 years ago, probably 3 years ago, it may have been during 2020, I decided to clean out some stuff, and I had a couple big pieces that I just got rid of because I thought nobody does cross stitch anymore. Nobody decorates with cross stitch anymore. I had a large piece that had bears that actually had a wardrobe with quilts in the wardrobe, and it had all of these French knots on it as well. And because I was into quilting, you know, that I loved that piece, and but it was a big one I got rid of. And I had another one that I remember was it was an American, like it had a big eagle, a big spread eagle, and it had wording on it, and I had decorated our mud room with all patriotic things, and so it hung in there. And so I know back in probably 2019, 2020 is when we redid that room, and I got rid of it. And so I got rid of it. And so wasn't until I was watching Lori Holt, and you know I'm a fan of hers, and I was watching her channel, and I remember one Friday evening, she always posted her videos on Fridays, and so on Friday evening I would stay up late, and I pulled up her channel that evening, and she said, "Hello, floss tube," and I had no idea what floss tube even was. I'm like, what is floss tube? I watched that whole video. I was absolutely stunned. I had no idea that all that was out there, and I was smitten from then on. So I'll kind of share I remember my husband and I going on an anniversary trip. Our anniversary's in March. We went on an anniversary trip down to Evansville, Indiana, and I had looked up to see if there were any stores near there, and there was this wonderful, cute little store called Stitches of the Heart. Stitches of the Heart, I believe. Stitches from the Heart, and it's down in Evansville. They were only open one day a week, only for a short time, and this was March, so it was like tax season, and I think the owner of it, she would hire somebody else to come in because she was an accountant or something like that. There was something, so you only had a few hours, and this was still during COVID restrictions, so we had to wear a mask. And I walked into this store, and it was probably, I mean, it couldn't have been 200 square feet. I don't know. I mean, it was so small, but it was absolutely packed, absolutely packed. So if another shopper came in, you like had to step aside to let somebody get past you. It was so tightly packed. I was so enthralled. My husband came in with me for a few minutes, and then he said, I'm gonna go sit out in the car. And that was the day that I bought my first couple patterns as a new, reintroduced to cross stitch. And so I'm gonna show you some of those that I did that I picked up that very first day. So my plan here today is I'm going to go through some of my finishes. I don't have a ton because, like I said, I got rid of the things that I did years ago, but you probably won't be interested in those anyway. So over the last couple years, I've got several finishes, and then I have a lot of whips. So let me show you one of the projects that I first picked up at that store, Stitches from the Heart down in Evansville. Was this Miss Bingley's library. So if you know me very well, quilts, books, cross stitch, old farmhouses, some of the things I just absolutely love. I think I even mentioned that on a video back. If you want to go back where I talked about my 10 things you may not know about me, books was one of those. And so I loved this pattern with the library on it and the quote. I believe this is a quote from, you're gonna hate me, I want to say Little Women or Louisa May Alcott, well, which would be Little Women. I don't remember. I'd ask my girls, but I love this, and the lady standing on the books. So let me show you my finish. This is not framed the best. I did my own. I stitched it myself, so sorry for the glare. I stitched it myself, obviously. I threaded it on the back, whatever you call it, myself, and just put it in a frame that I had. But here, I know it's going to get a glare if I go straight on, because it does. It's under glass, and it's just a regular black frame, nothing expensive, something I had around the house. So I finished this. I started it on April the 4th, because that's shortly after our anniversary. And it is stitched on 32 count parchment linen by Weeks Dye Works. I picked up the threads, I picked up the linen, everything there that day, I believe. And then I finished it in August of 21, so it only took me 4 or 5 months there to finish it. I think I did just a couple things pretty monogamously there at the beginning. So I just love this. My favorite part is all the books she's standing on up here at the top. I just thought it was precious. I love the house, love the big white. Of course, obviously I assume it's a library. I don't know, could be a house. Miss Bingley's library, could be her whole house is the library. I don't know. But love that, that sits in our living room. And another one that I picked up that day that is finished, but I haven't framed it. Of course, I said that was an anniversary trip. So I wanted to pick up something to commemorate our anniversary. And so I picked up another Plum Street pattern. This is called Sweetheart Hill. I Belong With You. And I don't remember what linen this is on, but this is all finished. I just don't remember the linen. I did all the called for colors. Excuse me. So I do this as I need to frame this and put this in our bedroom. This, told my husband I was getting it as a remembrance of him and I. So I love that big house too. Really cute. I'm a big fan of Plum Street samplers. So a little bit about my my stitching rotation, because our anniversary is it's in March. Actually, our anniversary is on the 9th of March. And so what I did most of last year is I would begin a new work through a rotation. So I would begin a project on the 1st of each month, and I would pick a project to put there. On the 9th, then I would begin whatever I was working on for our anniversary. So I like to have one project going on that's family or anniversary or couple related, and then I stitch that from the 9th up to the 18th, because the 18th is my birthday date. And so on the 18th, I start a new project, and that one I usually do a farmhouse. I have some sort of a farmhouse theme going. And then I would stitch that until the 25th. On the 25th, I would do a seasonal project. So if it was Christmas or winter or 4th of July or something like that, and then do that until the 1st, and then on the 1st, I would start whatever project. Now, I also do a Sunday stitch, a separate project for Sundays, and then I do also have a morning stitch. I haven't done that for the last couple months, but what I would do is I would get up in the morning. It would get me out of bed because I would look forward to that stitching time. So I would get out of bed in the morning and I would put my earbuds in, and while I was listening to the Bible on tape, not on tape anymore, it's a Bible app, obviously, these days. And then while I was listening to that in my earbuds, I would stitch one thread of stitch, and I'll show you that project too. So that's kind of my stitching rotation. Here the last couple months, I've done a little bit more of, I just want to pick this up, or I just feel like working on this. And so, so that's a little bit about what I've done. I didn't keep a very wonderful record this past year. I had this is just a Walmart book. And I had my quilting things that I was doing, and my, as well as my cross stitch things. And so I didn't keep a very great guide. I like to decorate it with, this was February, Old Valentine's. Her head came off. I had the head sticking up over the top. But just stickers and things like that. But this year I did get, so for Christmas, I asked my husband if he was asking me what I wanted for Christmas. I said, there's a stitch along starting in January and I'd really like it. And so he told me to go ahead and order what I needed for that. And I picked up the Book of Days as well. So I am doing a better job this year of, so far, what are we, 9 days in? Here's my January one, and I've been stitching so far. I did not do last night. I had something else going on last night, so I am working on the Book of Days this year. So let me show you some other finishes that I have. I have a pattern here by Lottie Da. I also picked this up from Stitches from the Heart, that very first cross-stitch store I went to. So this is the Home Needlebook. I did not make it into a needlebook, but I'll show you what I did with it. So I stitched this one. I don't, for some reason, I don't have the written down what I stitched it on, but here's what I did. So I stitched and I put in our date that we were married, 1991, and the white farmhouse. Of course, we live in a white farmhouse, and I just love this. So the pattern actually showed, it had a red door and a gray roof, and then the red letters, and then, so you can see I changed it some. So the letters were black, I left the red for the date, and it had a red door, but I wanted this to match more of our house, and our house has a black roof, and I did the windows gray, and I did the door black, because I also have black entry doors. So I just wanted it to reflect our home a little better. And then I found this board. I don't know, I didn't buy this new. I think I found this at Goodwill, but it's just a piece of wood that's in the shape of the US. And I thought that was really cute, so I, oh here, look, I have the card on the back even. So instead, I stitched on 32 count linen, lamb's wool, and started it in August of 21, finished it in December of 21. I did make the changes. So my changes were, I used DMC 310, that's obviously the black, and I used Weeks Dye Works Pelican Gray, and I used Cayenne and Bashful. All of those are Weeks Dye Works, and those three are different from what was called for. I made the house a little whiter than the actual pattern was. So this this hangs in our bedroom. I've done a whole, year recently on my husband's side of the bedroom, I did a whole Indiana home type theme on a shelf above his dresser, and so I'll insert a picture so you can see how that is. My next finish, let me show you this one. This is Heart and Hand by, this is Winter Medley by Heart and Hand. I finished this last year, so this sits out with my snowmen out in my kitchen. And I finished this one into a tall pillow. So flakes fall, home fires call, lights so bright, winter night. So this sits in my kitchen. I just got this out this week after taking down the Christmas tree. We did all of the snowman decorations for January. I'm a little whopper jawed there, aren't I? And then, so on the back I finished it with some red print And then I do the method like Lori Holt, where I cut the back to fill it and to turn it. And then I have a piece of green wool on there, and then just an old pin. I found a set of these at an antique store. Just these old, they call them old laundry pins. This one actually to me looks more like a diaper pin, but I don't know. But I like that. So that sits in a display in our kitchen with all my snowmen. And I don't remember. This is a smaller piece of linen, so I think I just used something left from one of my other projects. I didn't even write it down. But Heart in Hand. There's also a spring medley pattern that she did as well, but I have not done that one myself. The next one I worked on, actual finish for you, is the Antique Scissors and Spools. I love this line of, or this group of projects that Shakespeare's Peddler did. And taking the inspiration from the photo on the front of it, I finished mine into a pillow. And I'll explain this in just a second here. So what I finished into a pillow, and what I did is I took an antique, after finishing it, I took an antique hanky that I had found that had lace all around the edges, and I actually stitched it down right on top, stitched the edges right down around, and then I trimmed away the cotton part of it and just left the lacy part. So I really, really liked that. That was cute. And then on the back, I finished it the same way. Piece of wool. Actually, I did 2 pieces of wool with this one, and then this pin, another one of those that I got in that set. And then hanging from this is my ribbons, because I entered this in our county fair. What year would that have been? Probably 90. I don't even have a date on here. It's not dated. I need to do that. So I would have done this in 91. In 2021. So this, no, I bet I entered it in the fair in 2021 because I didn't enter things in the fair this past summer. So I won first prize and reserve grand champion. So I keep this. This actually sits on a dresser right outside my sewing room, and I keep the ribbons attached to it just as a reminder, just as a happy spot for me, kind of like the kids' trophies, you know, that they would sit in their bedrooms, just the ribbon, just a happy spot for me. So I have this one that is a finish, and that's Shakespeare's Peddler. And let me see, I stitched that 32 count, premium, it's lamb's wool as well. And I stitched it in charcoal. I really don't know what the pattern, and charcoal is a Weeks Dye Works. Let me see what it was called for. I don't see. She stitched it in one color of silk, chocolate. I did mine in Weeks Dye Works charcoal. And so that one's a finish. Now the next one I am still in the process of working on, but it's another one of Shakespeare's Peddlers in that same line. And this one is the keys. So she has ones, the scissors, teacups, birds, baskets, and the keys. I might have bought the basket pattern too. I'd have to look through, but the teacups and the birds didn't really thrill me, but this one obviously does. I love old keys as well. So this one is almost finished. I think I just have one little motif over here. Let me look at the pattern real quick. One little one left. Yeah, there's another little heart key that faces this way. Two of them actually. 2 of them more that go right there. And that's all I have to do to finish that one. I should just do that and get it done. Probably stitch this into a pillow as well and display it with the other one. And again, I did this on the same linen and the same charcoal by Weeks Dye Works so that they would match. But that's a fun. Here's a picture of the other ones that she has. The baskets and the birds and the teacups are down here. And I've had this pattern for a while, well, since 21. So I don't know if she's come out with any others or if that's a done series for her. I'm not really sure, but that's a fun one to work on. And I remember taking that with me when my son was hospitalized back in 21. I worked on that one there because it was a, you know, once you get past the scary part of the hospitalization and you're still there for a few days waiting just to get better, then I could stitch. And I remember taking that one just because it was you know, I didn't have to think too much. It was one color and a very minor stitching there. So got a little bit of that one done. All right. Before I go on to my whips, I wanted to show you a, what would this be? Happy Mail that I got this week. So I have jumped on the bandwagon of doing the word for the year, and last year my word was grow, and actually you can see right up there on the shelf, I purchased one of these pillows from Under the Woolen Willow, and where she will put your word of the year onto a pillow. And so last year my word was grow, and I definitely did that. The letters to stand for something. So G was for God. I wanted to grow in my relationship with God. The R was for my relationships. I wanted to grow in my relationships with my husband, my children, my church family. The O stood for organization. I wanted to grow in my organization skills around my home, to get things, because things kind of changed for us over the last year. I have several children. A couple of them moved out of the house this year. One got married, one moved out on his own. Then my two daughters that in their early 20s, still living at home, they're both working full-time now. So suddenly I had a lot more responsibilities that came back onto me that had been divvied out to everybody. So I wanted to grow in my organization skills around the home, and that worked. And then the W stood for work. I wanted to grow in my work, and that was my long arm business. And that's how actually this YouTube channel came about, was through that. So I met many of my goals, and this year my word is focus. So what I mean by this is I want to focus on one task at a time. So while I'm working, I am all in working. Big steps, major moving ahead when I'm working. When I'm with my family, my focus is on my family. And I don't want to be working during that time, and I don't want to to be on my phone or things. I want to focus on my family when it's time for family time. I want to focus on my work when it's time for work. I want to focus on God when I'm in my quiet time. So this is my word for the year. And so I got on Etsy and found Under the Woolen Willow. I love her stuff. And this is something I probably could do myself, but I didn't want to. I just like her finish on this. I like that she adds the 2023 pen, and then she adds this little card with the definition of focus. So if you're interested in one of these word of the year pillows, it's not too late. We're just a week or so into January. So Under the Woolen Willow, you can look her up on Etsy, and just a fun reminder. I have this on my dresser. So every morning, the first thing I do when I see this in the morning, I remind myself I'm focusing one thing at a time. What am I working on now? Everything else is to the side. And then when it's time for that next project, then I focus. So that works with cross stitch as well. So let me share some of the whips that I have going on. So I mentioned that in the morning I have a morning stitch, and this is when I first awake and put my earbuds in to listen to the Bible on my app, and then I work on a morning stitch, and I do one thread. And so this is what I'm working on right now. This is called Quakers and Quilts. I am only stitching, actually, so there's two ways that you can do this. This is the whole print, and then on the back she shows only doing the top half, and this is actually what I'm working on. There's a little brighter picture so you can see it here. Quakers and Quilts is the name of the booklet. This is put out by Karen Kluba. I hope I'm saying that right. And if you're just doing the portion like I'm doing, that's called Only Quilts. I want to think, yeah, Only Quakers is what it's called. Only Quakers is the pattern for that part. What I like about this booklet is, well, she's got a lot of bonus little projects that she doesn't even have pictured here, but little motifs, little pillows that you can make. It's just a very, very well done booklet. I really enjoy this one. So here is my progress so far. I am stitching this on 32 count lamb's wool, and I'm using one color. I'm using Weeks Dye Works mascara. Because I live in an old farmhouse and I decorate with a lot of, I like the whites and the blacks and the taupes and some grays, and so I am just doing some of these samplers where I want to do just, you know, some people do red samplers, some blue. Mine is a black, so I did it in mascara. So I started this back in February. I actually started on my husband's birthday. Look, it's not perfect. I've made some mistakes along the way, but I've kind of adjusted where it needed to be adjusted. I didn't want to tear out stuff that I messed up, and sometimes can't even find where I messed up, so just go with it. Nobody else will know, right? So that's my morning stitch. I do that each morning. And I said that that book was designed by Karen Kluba. It says Rosewood Manor as well. So if you're interested in finding that one. So I enjoy that one. I've gotten, you know, almost all the letters done, as you can see. And there's some numbers that go, you know, I can see I've got the end of the numbers there, but the beginning of the numbers go down here. And then it's more quilt type, doily type things hanging down, almost like it's sitting on a shelf or something. And I have those to go, so enjoy that one. And next, so I mentioned earlier that I always like, for my birthday stitch from the 18th to the 24th, I like to have some farmhouse project going. And I keep that farmhouse project in my farmhouse bag. And I just made this myself. I didn't stiffen it. It's pretty wobbly. I probably should have done a little bit better of a stabilizer. Just did the house on my own. I actually did little Ohio star on the door. And then one of the things I like to do with my bags, I mentioned before, I like to put a zipper pull, and so I like to match my zipper pulls as best I can to the bag itself. So I have a little house zipper pull, and then not only that, but I like to match my thread ring to my zipper pull. So my thread ring for this project is also a house. Now, if you're interested in those, I get those from Sophia Violet. She is also on Etsy. Sophia Violet Designs. I'll show you that card. Now, usually she just has the thread rings on there, but I have just asked, you know, if it's one that I want, I'll ask her to do a zipper pull for me instead of the thread ring, so that I get one of each. So I'll get the thread ring and the zipper pull to match. So inside my farmhouse bag, oh, let me show you one more thing. Another thing I like to do with my bags. So here's the inside. I like to keep a little design board in my bag as well. So, and this usually matches. So whatever fabric I'm using for my bag, I use, make a board out of that as well. And so I've got the magnets to hold my scissors. So I'll pull this out when I'm stitching, and I'll set this beside me, and I keep any loose threads on here so that they're not all over my sweater or all over the couch. And I keep my scissors attached to here while I'm stitching as well, so I don't lose those. And every bag has a pair of scissors and readers in it. I want a pair, and so I don't have to go looking. Whichever project I pick up, I want every bag that I'm working on to have a pair of scissors and my readers. So every bag does. So that's how I keep my bags. And so this first project I'm going to show you is a finish, and then I'll show you one that I'm working on. So this one is by Scarlet House, and this is called American Farmhouse. Take it out of the package for you. It's called American Farmhouse. And this one I stitched on 36 count Edinburgh in vintage country mocha, 1 thread over 2. That's almost always what I do. I like to stitch on 36 count mostly. I'm venturing out on a couple. I've done some 32, trying a 40 here, I think, on another project, but I like 36 count most of all. So on this one, I used most of the called for threads, except I used a Merlot instead of Red Rocks, but that was just one change. All right, and so here's my finish. I don't have this one framed yet. I finished this in November, so not too long ago. Again, just fits my style, just fits my style. The white farmhouse, front porch like that. We have a front porch just like that. I love the alphabet on there. The barn, the American flag, the quilt blocks. I love combining quilts and cross stitch. So fun. The white picket fence. I just really like that. Really like that. And like I said, this is vintage country mocha. And on the other side, so this is one large piece, and I finished this in November. And that's at the top. And I went right on and started another project on the bottom. So let me show you what that one is. That one I started because I finished the American Farmhouse in November, and so I decided to work on a Christmas stitch. So I'm using the same linen, and I am working on Jingle all the way. And so during the month of December, that's how much I finished. The barn, the fence, a little bit of the snow along there. I may keep this out and work on it through the winter. I know it's a Christmas per se because of the saying on there, Jingle all the way, but I think I'll keep this out at least through January and work on it. So this is Little House Needleworks, and again, I love the white house, I love the quilt blocks, and a barn. Can't go wrong with a barn either. So that one I am using, I don't know if I wrote down. Let me look at my thread ring. I think I'm using all the called for. So I'm using all the called for, except I'm using chalk for the white instead of eggshell. They had eggshell for the house, and just because, or for the house, well, for the house and for the snow. And I wanted it to stand out. That one wasn't showing up, so you can see the chalk shows up a little bit better on the vintage country mocha. So that's the only change I made on that one. All the others are the called for threads. So Jingle all the way, Little House Needleworks, and that's in my house bag. Now, this is another whip that I have. I've not worked on this in a very long time. This is one of the projects that I had going when I quit cross-stitching. And so, let me just show you. You might have done this one too. Can you tell that one? So going along with my quilts and cross stitch, this is a pattern from this booklet, Quilts for All Seasons by Paula Vaughn. I did this one also, but I don't know where it is. I don't know if that's one that I got rid of. And so when I was, when I got out of cross stitch many years ago. I kept this one for whatever reason. I think I gave all of my threads to my daughter. I had them in those Tupperware, not Tupperware, but those plastic containers with all the DMC rolled around the little bobbins, and I just gave it all to her, and she's done a few smaller projects, but so I don't know if I'll finish it. I don't know. I like the newer patterns than this. I mean, I like this, but what I like about the hand-dyed threads is that you can do a greenhouse, and because the hand-dyed threads have such variation in the thread, you can get the shading and the coloring, where when you're doing the DMC, this is all DMC, when you're doing that, you got to change threads so often to get that shading. So I don't know, I could finish it out. This is on some sort of Ada, probably a 16. I could finish it out using hand dyeds instead of going back to the DMC. Just, I get weary of changing threads so much and just doing a few little stitches here and then having to count over and a few little stitches here. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think. Should I go back to and finish that, or just scrap it and say I'm done? Another little thing that I used to do, and I might get back to do, I would make bookmarks from my scrap pieces. So this one's finished. This one's, I think I ran out of room, so I only made it 4, and it doesn't look quite right without having that 5th block. But again, the quilting along with the cross stitch, this is a very simple, and I don't even know where I picked up this little pattern, but you pick 3 colors, and so the blue here is the same blue that's here, and then so you use the blue. I used the blue and the beige there, and then I used the blue and the red here. So you're just picking 3 colors, and then I would stitch around it. Sometimes, you know, I would just, the back doesn't look too bad, so sometimes I would just cut around it and leave it like that. Other times I would attach it to fabric. But that's just kind of a fun way to use up. This is on Ada. I don't know if it would work as well with linen. I've never tried it with linen. But a fun little project just to, then I can put in the books that I love too, right? All right, my next whip. This one, so back in April of 2022, my husband and I went on a trip to Scottsdale, Arizona. And we had it was a business trip for him. I was able to go along, and I'd heard people talk about the attic, and I knew that was near Scottsdale. Is it in Scottsdale? I can't remember. It might be in Scottsdale. Anyway, Phoenix, Scottsdale area. And so we were there through the week, but I asked, I called and they're not open throughout the week, but they are there doing orders and things. So I had called and said, I'm from out of town. Is there any way that I can come? So they let me come in and shop. And so this is a project that I picked up when I was there at the attic. This is the Primitive Hair. This is a cross stitch collector. This was a Nashville kit from 2022, and they had the kits there. And so I got the whole kit. So let me show you. I don't have this one in a bag yet, but I do have the thread keep, my threads on a thread ring, and I think that's so cute. I need to make, like I mentioned, I like my thread keeps and my zipper pulls to match my bag, so I haven't made a bag with, I do have some fabric that kind of looks like the measuring tape there. So I may make one out of that. But I got the whole kit, so it came with the board to actually put it on. I just love this paper too. But it came with the board to mount it on. It came with the buttons that you put there. did not come with the threads. I did buy the threads, but here is my progress on this one. And this is one that I picked up in December and just decided I wanted to do a small, pretty quick stitch. And so I have the little spool there, except I think that used a gold thread, and I just received that in the mail this week so that I can do that part. And then that gold thread kind of weaves along the words, or along the word. But these letters are very simple. Able to do this in a couple letters a night, so it's a fun one. I love that linen there. See if it said what linen it was on. It just says 30 count linen. It doesn't say what it actually is. And I'm using the called for colors. So that is dark, but it's actually Pea Coat by Weeks Dye Works. So it's a dark blue, where I think it almost looks, if you're not close to it, it almost looks like a black. So I like that one. And like I said, that's just one I just decided in December. I just wanted to work on something different, so I picked that one up. My next whip, let me show you the bag. My house bag doesn't have vinyl on the front. Most of my other ones do. So this bag is a machine type fabric. I like this. I actually have this same fabric on my ironing table. So I took the stuff out so you can kind of see inside, the fabric that's on the inside. And then my zipper pull for this one, obviously a sewing machine. So cute. I just love it when everything coordinates, So then inside the bag I have my board in the same fabric around the edges, and here's my thread keep, the same little thing. Now the project in this bag is Peace, Love, and Purpose by Plum Street Samplers. And this one, I believe, I don't have the card here in front of me, is one I started after I had finished the anniversary piece that I did. No, or I started this for 4th of July. I might have started this for 4th of July. So Peace, Love, Purpose. And let me show you my progress on this one. This is stitched on 36 count platinum linen. And here's how far I've gotten on this one. Making progress. I love the vine around the flagpole. That was probably my favorite part to do so far. This I've done the flowers, so this is just fill-in work. Real simple. And then the people over here. So not, the house is pretty much finished. I just have the white on the very front of it there, and finish the people, and that vine goes on around above over here, and stitch the date. So that one will be done this year, obviously. But a lot of fun doing all the called for colors on that one. I love the muted colors on this. Even though, kind of has a 4th of July theme to it, I like the muted colors. Very nice. Plum Street. All right. Now, I mentioned earlier as well that I do a Sunday stitch. So on Sunday afternoons, I work on the same project each Sunday afternoon. So let me show you my bag. I'll take everything out and show you the bag. So this is my Sunday bag. Now this fabric actually says Joy to the World. But because of the churches on there, I just thought it was perfect for a Sunday stitch. And then I just tied a little piece of fabric to there. I didn't have a thread keep necessarily for this one, so I had, so this, or not a thread keep, a zipper pull. So this one is that little charm that came in the Sew Sampler box that I talked about last week. And then this one was actually a set of earrings that I had. Let me see if I can get it. It says, I love to quilt. It was a set of earrings, and I wasn't wearing the earrings anymore, so I wound the hook part around the zipper opening. And that's my bag for my Sunday stitch. And then obviously inside I have my board. I got my little scissors. Here's my scissors, and here's my readers inside each one of them. And so for my Sunday stitch, I am working on This Is the Day. I believe this came out at Market last year. Is that when it came out? I know lots and lots of people have done it. I'm working on it. I haven't done the best. So let me show you my progress. I am stitching on, now I misplaced it. I just had it. Oh, here it is. Okay. All right, I am stitching on 36 count Edinburgh linen in flax. I love this color. I love this color. This is my Sabbath stitch. I began it on in April, and I'm using all the called for colors. Flowers are going great. My house, I've messed up on. And I've tried to fudge it. I've tried to fix it. Somehow I thought I had the roof counted perfectly, but somehow I have one extra one here. So then on this post here, I did 3 instead of 2 that was called for. That has thrown stuff off. Then I was wrong on some of these bricks down here, and so I've had to shorten them here, and that's thrown it off. So I think I'm actually going to tear out because I can't find, I'm continuing to have to fudge, and I just don't like it. So some of my bricks, you know, are going to be a little shorter. Do you see that one? And I think it's going to be so obvious. So I know I've done a lot, but I do think I'm going to tear this one out. So as much as it pains me, I really think I'm going to tear out the house, because I think if I continue on, I'm continuing to have to make adjustments, and it's frustrating me. And then I think I'm always going to look at it and go, look, those bricks aren't the right size, or look. And so I think I'm going to have to bite the bullet and tear it out. But the flowers are good. And I got the head of the ram out there and the smoke. I think that's all good. So I'll recount the roof and see if that's where I made the mistake. And if so, I'll have to tear out the roof too. If not, then I may, if that's okay, then I'll leave that part and just tear out the bricks. And we'll see. See from there. I don't know. I don't know. But that's my Sunday stitch. And all the called for colors. So a little different colorway than I usually do. I mean, a little bright. Actually, the bright colors that you see are used very little in it. So the bright oranges and things are only used like in the sun. You know, the main part of the house, the wording and all that is the darker muted colors, which is what I like. So even though that looks very bright, they're not used that much in there. So I enjoy that. I look forward to that each Sunday when I work on that one. That's a lot of fun. All right, so let's see. A couple more that I'm working on here. So back when Market last year and all the new things that came out, I had to join. So I purchased this book, Keeper of the Pins. This is just so cute. I love the smalls. I realize I don't have a lot of smalls. I work a lot on bigger projects. And so when this book came out, and then, you know, when I visited the attic and picked up that, the cross stitch collector, I wanted some smalls. And I have picked up some other small patterns that I have, but I want to finish some. I don't need to start anything else. I need to finish some before I pull those out. But I like the smalls because I like the look of tucking them in. I've got a dough bowl that I can use. I've got some of the table trays that I've kind of made myself from, you know, you kind of look at your stuff different when you see somebody else and how they've used it in their decorating, and then I'm like, oh, I could use that for such and such. So I do have some trays that I can use to house these in. So let me show you. I've only finished a couple of them. These are stitched on 36 count vintage country mocha as well. I have that one done. And I'm just going to continue working on all of them, and I think then I'll cut them apart and make them. So that's so cute. And then I'm starting on that tomato one. That's the one with the tomatoes are sitting on the spool. And I am using the called for colors. Yeah, so those are the two that I'm working on. So I finished that one, and then this one, it's the tomatoes are sitting. So it's fill in that I have to do on that. Doesn't take much time. But those are fun. Like I said, using the called for colors on that one. And then also from Market, I picked up this book. I think I got this from Market. I'm pretty sure it came out at Market. Let Love Reign. So the one project that I'm working on in this one is this one. And this is my anniversary stitch because I finished the other anniversary one. So I felt like this one went along with that theme. I'm not a big brown and blue, but I like that. I really like that. So I have now this one, I have all the called for threads. And instead of a round thread keep, I have them on one of my antique pins, which is kind of fun. So when I put these on threads, so this one has a combination of DMC as well as some weeks. And so most of my DMC is on my own little handmade cards like this. And so when I pulled these from my stash, some are on cards like this, and some are on cards like this, a little plainer. This was actually just, these I made myself. Do you want to know what these are? So, you know at Christmas time when you wrap shirts in gift boxes? That's what this was. I cut them, and then I used a little paper punch that I had that was a corner rounder, and then this is when I was first starting, and I just loved the thread things that people had, and I wanted to try my own. So that's what that was. You can make your own. Just cut apart a gift box. I had a little template that I would trace around, and then I did the corners, punched the holes. And so those were the early ones. And then later on I found you can buy tags just like this at Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Joann's, wherever. And so then I just use those, punch the hole down here. I've used all different kinds of things for my threads, but so my DMC. So then when I'm done with this project, I organize my threads again by number, and I'll hang these up. I have these hanging in my sewing room by number. So when I'm working on a new project, so then I can go see if I have that number there. So that's the threads for this one. And I've just got a very little start on this one. It's actually on the same piece of thread, same linen as that one, but just on the other side. I'm starting that one. That's all I've gotten done. And then I put it away, and I'll get back to it. This one kind of feels like a February feel with the blues and the kind of a hint of spring with the flowers and things, but the colors of it kind of give a little more wintry feel. So maybe I'll work on that Jingle all the way through January, and then I'll switch over to this one and work on, except I don't know. I don't know. I haven't really sat down and thought about my plans for my cross stitch for this year. All I did was pull out all the whips, and I was really surprised at how many I did have going. So that's a fun one. That one is by Teresa Kogut. Love her designs. I'm a big fan of hers. I picked up, did you participate in the Jingle Ball? Jingle Ball, is that what it was called? Back in December, and I picked up a new pattern of hers from back then as well. It was really cute. It was exclusive to the Jingle Ball thing too. One last one to share, and this was actually my Christmas gift. When my husband asked, what I wanted for Christmas, and I said, there's a stitch along starting in January, and I'd really like to be a part of it. So he purchased, I put it in the cart, the Martha Evans stitch along that starts here. I think it officially starts on the 16th. I wanted to join along because my birthday is also in January, just like, is it Brenda's birthday that's in January? The reason they're starting this, and she's a little older than I am, but that's okay. I wanted to join along too. My birthday is the 18th, and so I picked up this pattern. This is my Christmas gift. So Martha Evans by the Scarlet House, and not only did he buy me the pattern, but he bought me the linen, and I went with Newcastle linen in the color of Americano, and this is actually a 40 count. And the reason I went with a 40 count is because this piece is big, and that way it would fit on a fat quarter size, is what I was told. So you can see the modeling in that. It's really pretty. Now I went with all the DMCs. You can do it in silks, but the DMC conversion is on the back as well. And so I went with all DMCs. I got all of those ready. Here is, I am using a bag, and I guess I can show you this bag. This is one of my early bags. It wasn't my favorite, but that's where it's living right now. This was some old Debbie Mum fabric that I had. And again, it's a little wider. For my zipper pull, I just layered some buttons together and have that on there. So it's okay. It's not my favorite bag, but that's what this project is living in right now until I make one for it. But I do have thread keeps and a zipper pull ready. Now look at this. It's a sampler. Isn't that cute? And the zipper pull, that's the zipper pull right there. This is the thread ring. I just have the zipper pull on the thread ring right now. I purchased all of my fabric and the pattern all from Colorado Cross Stitcher. She has her own floss tubes if you're interested in hers. And so I know this doesn't officially start until the 16th, but I did just a small little bit. Just, I got this at Christmas, and I just had to do Christmas Day. It's like, can I just start just a little bit? So I have just this tiniest little start on there, but I'm looking forward to that one too. So I believe that is everything that I have. Those are all the whips that I have going on right now. Lots of other patterns in my stash, but that's all I'm starting right now. And so I think I'll sit down this week and I'll actually make a plan. I told you earlier how I kind of did it last year, and I'll see what I have already started and see how I want to work that into the year. But I love cross stitch. I am so glad that it's come back around and it's found and I love FlossTube. I binge watch on Friday nights when I'm up late. That's one of the fun things to do, is to binge watch and then get so motivated and then spend the weekend cross stitching as well. So that's it. So share in the comments what you're working on. If any of these projects you're working on as well, I'd love to hear. And thank you so much for watching. Next week I'll be back with some customer finishes. I have my alpine quilt almost done. All the blocks are finished. I'm putting the last little parts together on that, so I'll be able to share that next week. So I can't wait to be here again to share that with you. And thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you being here.